Robert Johnson III of Natchez, Mississippi. Good morning, my man. How are you?
Good morning.
It's a pleasure having you.
That's good. Good to be here.
You gavel in at 9 o'clock this morning. Probably stay, about 15 minutes and leave for the most part? Yeah.
Some of us have jobs. We have to go back and do some work. Unless you want a full-time legislature, I don't think you want that. So.
I think we can afford just about what we got right now. That's about that's about it. I don't know if we need anything else other than. I think we could probably cut it down from the number of representatives that we have, but that's going to take more work than we've got time for. So, all right, man, let's jump into this. Looks like 2023's hottest session sizzler has got to be HB 1020, Mr. Trey Lamar's bill. And if it becomes law, it's not over. We understand that there could be a lawsuit by the NAACP and the Black Caucus. First of all, let me ask you this.
Well, not the NAACP and the Black Caucus, but probably NAACP and a number of other groups around the country who believe in, direct democracy and freedom.
Yeah. Are you saying that the Black Caucus is not planning on suing?
No, the Black Caucus is not planning on suing.
Okay, I mean that was a news report out there. So, but you think that the NAACP will if it becomes law?
Yeah, I mean Robert Johnson may join the NAACP and sue him, but I can't. I wouldn't say the whole Black Caucus.
I got you. Members of the caucus argued that the bill is in its original version was unconstitutional, and then I think they said basically that it still is. Well, that's my question. Do you say now in this version it still is? Explain that to me as an esteemed lawyer, sir. Why is it?
Well, I think it's Article 6, Section 153 of the Constitution says all judges shall be elected. All judges. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter where they are. And this bill still has appointed judges. Now, some people refer back to the fact that the Supreme Court has appointed judges for Jackson before pursuant to our statute. I think it's something 91-1 something, but I don't have it in front of me. But even that's unconstitutional. Nobody's ever challenged it, but it is. And all you have to do is, most of your listeners are strict constitutionalists, and if you read the Constitution, that's what it says. And so, in that sense, it
Robert.
is.
No, you're an attorney. Wait a minute, hang on. You're an attorney, so if the court's ruled on this, precedent has been set, and until you challenge that, then it is law, and it can be done.
Well, you can do anything you want to do until somebody says you can't do it. And so what I'm telling you is they've been doing it, but it's unconstitutional. And so if they do it this way, finally somebody will raise an objection and you can't do it. It's as simple as that. Unless we change the Constitution.
Wouldn't you say that the verbiage on this, the way you describe this is unconstitutional? That's just your opinion in the books
it's just
that are
what the
on
Constitution. Paul, you heard what I said. Look, it says that Article 6, Section 153 of the Constitution, I think I got the right number, says that all judges shall be elected. I'm not interpreting that. I'm reading it. That's what it says. And so if you appoint a judge that has contemporaneous jurisdiction, which is what they're doing, you're violating the Constitution.
Well, let me ask you, lawyer to lawyer, cohort to cohort over in the House. Trey Lamar said the state constitution does allow the legislature to create what is called inferior courts, and this is under that banner of an inferior court. And if it is an inferior court, as such, those appointed judges would be subject to review by the 4 existing elected judges, and therefore, as far as the Supreme Court's concerned, it is allowed.
Well, that's not what they did. So, you can call, Trey Lamar can call them an inferior court, but if you take a court and you give them the same civil jurisdiction and the same criminal jurisdiction, that's not an inferior court. Now, he may manufacture a definition of his own, but that's what he's done, and so you can't do that. Now, you can import an inferior court. He kept using the example of, well, don't we have county courts? Well, a county court is an elected court. Now, some counties have a youth court that they appoint that has the same youth court jurisdiction as a county court, but they don't have the same civil jurisdiction as a county court. So that is an inferior court. But what he has manufactured in his legislation is not an inferior court, even though he calls it that. But that's why you have lawsuits. That's what you do.
But Guys,
look,
not being an attorney, here, I'm hamstrung on this. But you're arguing. But your argument is more on that when you have an appointed court, you are taking it's racist. It's a civil rights violation, regardless if it's youth court, drug court, or whatever it happens to be.
No. I didn't say racist the whole time I've been on here. We can talk about racism in all other aspects of the bill, but on the court, in the court system, it's unconstitutional. Let's just stick to the fact that the law says is unconstitutional, and that's what we are fashioning this argument in. But look, this is the same leadership that tells people they want to give them a ballot initiative, and then tell them, I'm gonna tell you what you can vote for. This is the same. These are the same people that say they believe in the Constitution, believe in freedom, believe in direct democracy, but then they'll fashion a ballot initiative that put all kinds of restrictions, makes it almost impossible for people to have a ballot initiative. So don't tell me you're quoting people who are not being genuine in the sense that they want to give people freedom and elected democracy and direct democracy. And they turn around in every aspect of everything we've done this session and limit people's ability to govern themselves. And they say they believe in freedom. Look at the ballot initiative. You want to know what this is born out of? Right. Look at what they've done. Oh, we'll give you a ballot initiative, but we're going to make you get twice the number of signatures, and we're going to tell you this is what you can't vote on, and this is what you can vote on. Now, tell me how that is freedom. These are the same people now. I'm supposed to trust their definition of an inferior court. Now, I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same people. But go ahead.
So you don't think there should be some parameters of what you can put on the initiative at all?
We haven't had parameters the whole time. We've had a ballot initiative since after Reconstruction. And nobody has ever said, this is all you can vote on. And how is that a ballot? If that's what it is, then just don't give them a ballot initiative. Why do people, wait a minute, why do the people who elected me, why should I further restrict them by saying, now you voted for me, and you told me you want the freedom to make choices on your own. I'm going to give you that freedom, but I'm not going to give you real freedom. I'm going to limit. I'm going to tell you what you can and cannot vote on. No, I do not think there ought to be parameters.
Hold on.
I want to hear. Wait a minute. I want to hear the people speak. I want to hear the people speak. You ought to want to hear the people speak. I've heard you talk about it, Paul. You are a freedom, liberty, and freedom guy. You ought to want to hear him speak.
I believe that through the representation of the elected officials more so than anything else. I really do. That's one of the reasons
you don't believe in the people who listen to this show ought to be able to say, hey guys, you may not be getting it done down there. Just like we passed medical marijuana, just like we passed.
I don't think you do. I don't think you do either without any parameters.
Just like 20 years ago, when I wanted the legislature to vote on the flag, your people said, look, let's give it to the people, and the people chose not to choose a new flag. They had that freedom. I want them to have that freedom. I want to know what they think. That's what I want to do.
Being a seasoned broadcaster,
Paul. I'm a freedom guy. I'm a freedom and liberty guy.
Being a seasoned broadcaster and doing this for a couple of 3 years, I understand that talking over the guest makes the audience angry. So I'm trying not to, but you got to give me a second to get a word or two in here.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I don't believe that you really believe what you're seeing now. I really don't, for this reason.
Okay.
We're dropping it from 274,000 in this reworked bill as far as the amendments are concerned. I think we're dropping it back down to where it was 106,000 signatures would get something on the ballot.
No.
Would you rather drop that down to 50,000? I'm wrong on that?
No, we're going from 106. No, we're going from 106 is what you would require, what we had, to doubling it up to over 250,000. We're moving it up. We're doubling it up.
I have a story here that says the House, through amendments of SCR 533, changed the required signatures from 240,000 to 107,000.
Right, we passed an amendment to go back, so we fixed that part of it, but we didn't fix all the other parts of it. That makes it difficult.
Would you drop it down from 107,000 even lower?
No, 107 is fine, because then you cannot argue that you hadn't done it. I don't have a problem with that. That was part of my amendment. My amendment did the same thing. Yeah.
With the population basis that we have in the state of Mississippi, what happens if things wind up on the ballot for that are really actually some things that you do not want, as far as voting rights and things? All right, we'll talk
Well,
about that when we come back.
look,
Hang on just a second.
you let the people
Cool the
speak.
microphone.
Let the
The
people
mic
speak.
is smoking. We got to cool it off. Robert Johnson the third. I got to ask you
Can I say
this.
something briefly? Let me say something briefly.
Go ahead, sir.
I want to apologize for talking so much. I'm just excited to be back on the show. Paul has kept me off for like 6 months, and he shouldn't do that.
That's
to me.
first of all, I just said something nice about you, and you just lied about me. I just told you off air that I've invited you several times, but you appeared on an adjoining program, so we don't do redundancy. So, but I'll say this,
I like
though.
you better than Gerard, so I'm sorry.
But for the sake of you having an aneurysm, you better turn that program down and come on this one, or else you're going to die. So,
you're right.
Here's in the spirit of God's humanity and loving all people.
Okay. All right.
I feel. Is there ever going to be a time? And I understand it's the lack of trust that's warranted from the past, and maybe even some incidences from the present. I hope it's not that much. But is there ever going to be a time where whites are going to trust blacks and blacks are going to trust whites? And understand from a white perspective that all blacks are not this way and all whites are not this way. To come together so we can build Mississippi in a way that is better for our kids and our grandkids. Do you think in our lifetime that's going to happen? Are there any members of your delegation and your cohorts that you deal with that you absolutely, positively trust?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, in answer to your question, yes, in our lifetime it will. And what I will tell you right now, and I have this discussion with people all the time. There are more things in the legislature that are not public that we find common ground on and we work together on than not. We actually, it appears in the press and openly that we're fighting, but we have these major issues that we have big policy disagreements on. But I'm gonna tell you, there's more cooperation than people know. So yeah, I'm confident it will happen in our lifetime if we can get national orchestrators out of our local government on both sides, telling us adopt this policy, adopt that policy. This is where we need to go.
Yeah.
You see trends. When we sit down and talk to each other individually, we have so many things in common and so many things we'd like to do to help each other. Yeah, well, I can see that.
I not only on talking about 1020, and we'll get this one out of the way here, but not on the Capital District and the appointment of judges in the Capital District's expansive encroachment all the way to county line and things such as that.
Yeah.
Do you think Trey Lamar was doing this as a racist basis and actually wanted to take over the city of Jackson, or he was trying to find a way to solve crime in the city of Jackson?
Well, Paul, if you had a problem at your radio station, I wanted to try to help you figure out how to fix that radio station, I'd come to you and say, Paul, what do you need? Trey Lamar never did that. Philip Gunn never did that. Delbert Hoseman never did that. Nobody ever sat down before they start drafting this legislation and talk to, let's not even talk about the mayor or the city council or the board of supervisors. You have a whole delegation of legislators over there who are good people who work with you every 90 days to see what we can do, and nobody bothered to come to them. They may have talked to one person who was not from that delegation, but they didn't come and say, look, let's sit down and see what we can do. And so, if he was truly trying to solve a problem in Jackson, he would ask the people he was trying to help, what can I do to help you? And you know what happens with that? There's an exchange. And if they say, this is what you can do, he said, well, I can't do that. Let's talk about what we can do. That never happened. And so, I can't go sit here and give you a dissertation on when we recognize racism, but I can tell you when we do. And so when you totally disregard a person's opinion, or you're not interested in what they want to say, what they hear, what they have to say, and you just say, I'm going to do this to you and for you, whether you like it or not.
I understand. But Robert, do you disagree with what was put together, or is it just revenge and anger that they didn't come to you? In other words, did you or have you put together a better plan that would solve this issue? Now, understanding you're from Natchez, but Trey Lamar is not from Jackson either.
So let me tell you what we did. We went to what I did as a person from Natchez and as the minority leader in the House. I went to the Jackson, the Hinds County delegation. I said, give me a list of the requests that you've made over the years to address these issues, and we put that together.
Okay,
This and you can fashion these into a plan to say this is what we want to do, and let's look at what they've asked for, and this is what they think will be effective, and you should have had a discussion about that. But these bills never made it out of committee. Nobody ever sit down and talk to them. So yes, I've done that.
Right.
And nobody listens.
Was there anything inclusive? Was there anything inclusive in Lamar's bill in 1020 that were part of the suggestions made by that delegation?
No, none.
None?
Nothing. Not one thing.
Well, tell me what was omitted from there.
Let me tell you what.
Give me an idea.
Okay, well, let me say this. Did the Hinds County delegation in any prior legislation ask for extra judges for Hinds County? Yes, they did. Mm-hmm. Elected, clearly. And you know what? Trey Lamar himself has asked for an extra judge in his circuit court district. Or we all do. We do it from time to time because they say we need it. Did they give Jackson 2 judges? No. They came and said, we will appoint 2 judges for you. Look, have they asked for money to say, let's help fight crime? Let's do something to help give more money to help fund the police department, give them better equipment, body cams. Let's do something. Maybe we need to help enhance salary so they can attract more policemen. Has that been asked for? Yes. Did it ever make it out of committee? No. So, no, I don't agree with expanding a police force. A police force is really not a police force. If the Capitol Police arrest somebody, they have to call the Sheriff Department of Hinds County or JPD to take them somewhere to hold them. If somebody calls 911, they can't get to the Capitol Police Force because they don't have access to 911. You're asking us to give $160 million to a police force that can't police. They can't do the basic things that all they can do is ride around, look at people, intimidate people, pick them up. That's fine. If that's all you want, call them a security force. But don't ask the legislation to fund a police force that can't do its job.
All right. So the number one gripe you have is that these, even if they were appointed, or rather, if they were elective, would you be okay with the entire concept of 1020 now? Better if it was elected instead of appointed?
If they gave Hinds County 2, 3, or 4, whatever they think is necessary, elected judges, absolutely.
Why do you think the bill was written like that, Robert? Why do you think that was appointed instead of
because
elected?
there's a and maybe because you're white you don't understand this, but there's a patriarchal attitude that we're going to tell you what to do, and this is how we want to see it done, and we're going to be able to dictate from start to finish how everything will happen, and that is not how people govern. Look. Tupelo has a higher backlog. The district, circuit court district that Tupelo is located in has a higher backlog than Hinds County does. And nobody has said yet, we're going to go up there and appoint some judges and just give them to you. Nobody has said that. Nobody's tried to address the problem that way. When Gulfport, after Katrina, had a serious crime problem, had a serious infrastructure problem, they didn't go in and say, we're going to take over Gulfport. You know what they did? They sent resources down there to help them address the problem. And I heard somebody say to me the other night, they said, well, they just don't want to give the money to Jackson Hinds. They don't want to give any more money. Well, they haven't given it. And why is there this concern about what they'll do with the money? They got over $400 million in ARPA funds. And the Federal Office of Management and Budget said they've done everything they're supposed to do to use those funds and have used them effectively. So why is it that we treat a African American led city like a child and treat everybody else like they're adults and they can have because they're on TV arguing with each other every day. They do that in every city council meeting all over the country. But go ahead.
Let me speak for the people in the city of Jackson who are African American or who are victims, and you're going to find a lot of victims, both black, white, brown, and fuchsia. When you look at a situation where the leadership in the city of Jackson, Mississippi, has caused most of these problems. Even the federal people have to come down to take over from this. Wait, hang on. Let me finish my thought here. They have caused this problem. So you go back to the elected base there in the city of Jackson, and you say, okay, you folks are in this situation because of the mayor that you elected. And what did they do? They re-elected them. And you want that same base to try to get you out of this with judges that you're going to elect again?
Well, you're talking about the mayor.
You're talking
about the mayor.
Hold on.
What about the judges? The judges have done a good job.
Well, but you have to have more judges, and the problem is that the Supreme Court justice is a white guy. And we'll talk about that when we come back.
I don't want him appointing my judge.
I've been here 30 years. I've never seen this group of people ever talk about passing a piece of legislation and not say, well, wait a minute, now how much is it going to cost?
If this doesn't work, you're going to have a lot of people in Jackson and a lot of businesses in Jackson leave. And they are asking for this because they don't want to leave Jackson. The water doesn't work. The government doesn't work. It's not safe in Jackson. They just want very simple things.
Very simple things is to stop the killing, to stop the businesses, families being torn apart, have some water that comes out of the spigot, to have those businesses stay there, maybe move in, to have a brighter future in the city of Jackson. Let me ask you this. If Chief Justice Randolph maybe picked up the phone and called you 15 minutes after the program was over and said, look, here's what we'll do. We'll let the presiding justice, Leslie King, make these appointments. Would that sway you into supporting this?
No, I don't. I don't want to set a precedent of appointing judges just because the person appointing them is a person I like. I think everything should follow the Constitution. It's a simple process. We have a mechanism. The legislature comes in and evaluates whether or not a district needs more judges. And if they do, we pass legislation to grant them more judges they can elect. So no, it wouldn't matter. But let me say this, Paul. You talk about better water and people not killed. You know, whatever you think of this current mayor's leadership, he inherited these problems, and they've been offering legislation to address these problems for years. And this legislature, under Democratic leadership, and under Republican leadership, has consistently said no. And so you can't, if a man wants to repair his house and he says, and you say to him, I will give you the money to repair the house, how much does it cost? And he said, it'll cost me $40,000. He said, well, I'll give you 4. Or I won't give you any. And I'm one of the few people that can speak that I've watched this happen through Republican and Democratic leadership. And I've watched it happen from mayor, since Harvey Johnson was elected. They've come in here and asked for money and said, look, we have a 100-year-old pipe system. We need help with refurbishing our water plant. That's a regional issue. At that time, you had Rankin County and parts of Madison County on the same system. And they said no. They told them no. The crime problem, we are understaffed, underfunded as a police force. We're trying to help secure downtown. We're asking you to help us help you. And they said no. So, this mayor, whatever you think about what his job is, this has been an ongoing problem. And if you were concerned about the leadership in Jackson, let me finish. The money and the effort that these same people who say they want to see change, and you say they reelected the mayor, go out and get a candidate. I've seen them do it, and put the money and the resources behind electing a candidate.
This is why they don't put a clock on closing statements here, because they. That's a great closing.
The judges I practice in front of, they put a clock on it. Great. So you need to stop.
It's a great closing statement. The other part of this is the money that there are. Yes, it is a systemic problem that's been happening for a long time. Under this mayor, it's been exacerbated by decisions that when it got bad, he made wrong decisions or bad decisions or no decisions whatsoever. There are countless people who wonder where the hell some of the money that's been going to this has gone, and there has been just absolutely...
Whoa. Let me ask you, Paul, what money? What money to go to what?
I'll have to go back and get some of the stories here, but there was monies that were allocated over the past years.
What monies?
There are. I'll get you those stories.
I have nobody's shown me what money. Nobody's shown me.
There are monies that was supposed to go to sewer and water, and did not, and also the billing situation, and everything else.
From who? Stop saying that.
No. Past federal dollars that came into that from the past.
Every federal dollar that has been sent to go to these problems has been examined and has been used correctly. You don't look. The state may not have good oversight. Look, the state has shown we don't have good oversight. Right. We let some private contractors steal $95 million to build a volleyball court, but the federal government watches its money. And the money they've sent down here, it is proven it's been used in the ways that they sent it.
I'm trying to squeeze this in. I got to get this other one in here. As far as the water deal itself is dead, it's a dead issue. So, I don't even know why we're talking about this.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Didn't the bill die on Wednesday? As far as the water situation in appointing an advisory,
but they already telling me no. They already telling me it died because they know they got a bill they're going to amend. You're going to see it again.
Oh, is that
it's
right?
Going to be amended in conference. Yeah.
So it is not dead.
Come on, Paul. You've been doing this long enough. You know it's not.
Well, I'm just having to go with what people are telling me, and I was under the impression that it was dead.
Okay, yeah. So technically, the bill is dead. The issue we will see again. I'm confident.
Before the end of the session is what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
You are confident on that?
Look, these guys don't stop.
See, we end with that trust factor. These guys don't stop. Robert, it's a pleasure, sir.
I trust them because they told me they would. I trust them. I trust these guys.
Have a great weekend, sir. I always thank you and look forward to getting you back on. We got to do this in at least 3 weeks, one more time here.
I will not go on another Super Talk show. Just yours. I'll be
thank you, man. Appreciate it very much. You need to get ready because you're up and at 'em this morning. Robert Johnson back with news coming up next.